I made over 5 figures last month completely with AI, and I'm here to show you exactly the tech stack I used to achieve this. And bearing in mind, 12 months ago, I hadn't built anything out with AI before, and I'd never written a line of code, and now we're doing enterprise level clients. Let's get straight into it actually. First of all, the key software I would recommend over everything else is Perplexity. And that's because it's an AI which allows you to find what other AIs are popping off at the moment. So you don't have to keep up to date with these YouTube videos or articles of what's the best AI as of today, because it's changing every 2 weeks. Like for example, last week there was Kimi K2, the best coding model. Then literally 14 days later, Qwen V3 came out, which was the next best coding model. And now I guarantee you in 2 weeks' time, GPT-5 will be the best coding model, and it'll continue like that, etc., etc. So not having to keep up with all of this stuff is so valuable. So that's why I would recommend just speaking to Perplexity and ask it, what is my use case? So the formula is, what's in my use case? What do I want to do with it? And what's your budget? So what's the price range, etc. And yeah, what's the AI tool for this? So use case, price range, and then desired output. So for example, I am creating a bunch of content. I want a quick thing to edit the content. I can't be bothered to do all the editing. Is there an AI tool which allows me to edit it as rapidly as possible? And Perplexity now is going to search the web for all these different sources, see what's the best, and it will come back to you with what it thinks the best content is. So Grammarly, I'm writing content. Actually, I should have mentioned, for example, okay, I didn't even need to mention. For written content, it would be this. I was talking about video content, but it nailed it. So this is the one I'm going to talk about in a bit. Riverside, all of these. So it tells you all of the best ones. And if you want to filter out, say, I want a free model and I maximum can spend $20 a month, etc. Perplexity got you for that. Also, as I mentioned before in another video about how we got all of our clients, I went to loads of events, searching Perplexity for the latest events in local areas. Perplexity told me how to prepare for these events, and it was absolutely perfect. So Perplexity, number one. Now for your AI assistant. And I wouldn't recommend Perplexity for this, just because Perplexity is best for real-time web searching, even better than ChatGPT, Claude. I know they have those features, but Perplexity is unparalleled, especially with its speed. And it's also got a feature, if you have the pro version, to just interact with it like this. Hello, are you there?
I'm doing great.
So that also assistant can search the web. You can just literally have a conversation with it like that. And I would even say that's better than the chat feature. Next, between ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, etc., I would recommend the two to focus on is ChatGPT and Claude. Either or is good. Doesn't really matter which one you pick. I would say Claude if you want to actually develop softwares, and if you have any inclination to at all develop softwares, do stuff with automations, etc. Claude is your goat. And then the second one is if you do not have any inclination for that, and you just want to use it as your personal assistant, then ChatGPT is your goat. Then, depending on what, I would just recommend, I've got only the Claude one because of Claude Code and Cursor, and I'll talk about that in a second, over ChatGPT. But if you're not inclined to do that, I don't even have the ChatGPT membership. You can create images for free. You can use it to analyze pictures, etc. for free. So if I was to pay, I'd pay for Perplexity and Claude. The next one is something called, and all of these have free trials, so test it out at your own will. Next one is cursor.com. And now, why am I saying Cursor, even if you're not technical, is you can learn, okay, it's a little bit of a steep learning curve, but after learning this, this is the third most valuable after Perplexity and one of those personal assistants. And the reason I'm saying this is because I never knew how to write a line of code. I'm still not the most proficient coder, but I can still create softwares. I've managed my full business through Cursor because I've linked it up to so many different tools like my Google Docs, all of these different things, video production, etc. And then I just type in my chat and it goes out and does it. And then I can start iterating. I use it as like my centralized hub for all these different tools. And that's through stuff called MCPs, so Model Context Protocol. If you don't understand what that is, basically it's just like a nice way of connecting softwares to other softwares and having like some kind of chat interface to connect with now Cursor is relatively expensive. It's got a 2-week free trial, but if you've got Claude, and this is why I was saying Claude is best for coding, you can automatically have access to something called Claude Code. And Claude Code within Cursor, you don't even need to have the paid version for Cursor. In this case, you can mix the two, and it's an absolute unit, unparalleled by any means of the imagination. What that means is you can use the Claude Code, which is like a sort of like a plugin within Cursor, and Chat it still understands your code base exactly like Cursor would do, but far cheaper. And it's, to be honest, better than any Cursor agent, I would even say. So use two hand in hand, but I'll just recommend get Cursor, couple the two together. You don't even need to get the Cursor paid plan, just use the $20 plan, and you're really set for coding, building out anything. It's a little bit of a steep learning curve, but I would just recommend don't get intimidated by the code interface. You can just test it out as much as possible. Ask the chat in Cursor or Claude Code, whatever you want. If you want, I can do another video on exactly how to integrate it and use it. But you can use a chat within one of these features to understand, okay, it's broken here, why is it not working, what do I have to do? Then just read through it and it'll tell you how to fix it, and you can just keep speaking to it. And also, another thing, you could also just speak to the Perplexity assistant and explain your full situation, and it will answer it in real time. It's crazy how good this stuff is. No, I'm in the field of AI. I haven't leveraged AI to that level I'm talking about now. Using AI to find out what's the best AI to use. Using AI to debug your problems. It's completely the best approach, I think, at this time. And if anyone doesn't know how to use AI, I would just recommend these 3 softwares. Perplexity, ChatGPT or Claude. So I would recommend Claude, and then Cursor. That's all you really need, those 3. And then from then on out, you can start branching out. For example, if you wanted to know how I did this voice feature, I actually found this feature in Perplexity because I was doing research, how to stop typing so much and how I start speaking. And it's called WSPR Flow. And it's an absolute time saver because it allows me to speak into it, and then it uses AI to correct all of the mistakes I made in the text. So if I say something, I say, actually, no, do this instead, it'll correct it, cut that stuff out, put punctuation in it, far better than the inbuilt voice to text on Windows by using the Windows H key. And you can also set up custom default key setups, so you can just speak and speak at the same time. And if you speak into a model like GPT or Claude, you can just give it such a long context window and it'll like sort of summarize your prompts. So I wouldn't even recommend any of these AI summarizer chatbots. I'll just use this coupled with one of the tools I mentioned. Next one, just quick rapid fire, Descript. So I'm making these videos, as you can imagine, I have a few pauses, I say ums, ahs, etc. Descript, you can go in it, and it will literally just with a click of a button cut out all of that, get it ready for production, and blur the background, whatever. So Descript, absolute time saver for this. And that's the core tech stack. So if you need anything else for your specific use case, just use Perplexity. Speak to the Perplexity assistant. And those are the three softwares I would really recommend over everything else. And then if you want to like use AI for presentations, for example, you would search Perplexity. What's the best AI to create presentations without having to do anything? And it will tell you like Gamma, for example, or it will tell you any of this stuff. So I would recommend over everything, Perplexity, ChatGPT or Claude, and then Cursor. Once you learn Cursor, you don't even need to learn any of these automation no-code tools because you can just copy and paste what you did in Cursor into these automation tools. And there are tools like Make.com, NA10, Relevance AI, all of this stuff, but I would completely forget about that stuff because Cursor can do all of this stuff, just speak to it enough times and it'll do it for you. And then you can copy and paste over that JSON code. If you don't know what that means, it's just like a bunch of code into NA10. And then if it doesn't work, you reiterate within Cursor and have that back and forth conversation, then paste it into NA10 or, NA10 is the best one, I would say. And you don't even need to learn how to build out these models. So Cursor over everything else. If you want to do automation, first do everything as I mentioned in the previous video before automation, the 4 steps before automation. And then if you really need to handle the server side hosting and all of this stuff, then focus on NA10. But Before that, I would just play around with these 3 tools, and then whatever questions you have, then use Perplexity. So that's my little bit of knowledge over the last 12 months building AI systems and building a company of 6 figures. And if you want to know how I did any of these, the like technical stuff of how to link up cursor, all of this stuff, just let me know and I'll post a video about that.